And the Clecos, you see, are holding this whole thing together. It's a little bit flimsy because there's no roof on it yet, but when I get the roof on, now what I want to do is I'll roll the roof. By the way, these are 1/16 or 16 gauge steel, cold roll. I like to use a cold roll smooth finish. This is, I don't know what gauge it is, it's 32 thousandths thick, 32nd of an inch. I like to use a little thinner stuff because you see the edge of it here, it looks more scale. And when you rivet it and back it up with angles and whatnot, it gets pretty strong. And I'll use the same material to make the roof. I'll cut it rough and roll it. There's a one radius here, different radius here, and a different radius there. There's 3 different radiuses on this. And I'll roll it. I'll roll the main radius first, and then continue to work it down. Just keep working it. And if it's a little bit out, a little bit over, or it needs to be pulled, I can do that with the Clecos. The Clecos will actually pull it down. Now, some Clecos have, and I got to get one out of the box. Excuse me. And this is a copper. This one's a copper one. That's 1/8 of an inch. And I should show you this. It's a little bit bigger. You might be able to see the. Might be able to see the fingers a little bit bigger. Okay, and that's a bigger one. Some Clecos have a thread here and a wing nut arrangement, and they are good when you want to pull something tight. Because even though these are very tight, sometimes with the metal it could be a little bit, put more tension on it and pull it, and you want to get that tight to your work so they can pull it down, or you can. In this case, how would you possibly get a clamp around here? You'd have to use a real big clamp, and it would flatten it a little bit, whereas the Cleco holds it down, and they're really great to use. And I was able to get mine from you can get them from Loco Parts, Don Orr. He carries them. And now here's another little tidbit. These are what they call Cleco clamps. Makes sense, right? Clamp. You can take this, and then we'll come up a little closer. I'm trying to make one video, so I don't have to do all the cutting. I just want to get this on. And clamp it. Ready to go. And you can drill against that. You can flip it around the other way. If you flip it around this way, then it can become like a platform to drill. So if I put the other one on, that, then when you lay out the angle, you can actually put it on a drill press like this and drill it, or just put basically I use wood or MDF or something underneath there and lay out the angle and drill it, and then put a Cleco in. Every time you drill, put a Cleco in. Now, the beauty part about them is that although this is steel, it doesn't shift too much, but aluminum, for example, when you start hitting the rivets, they squash. Even if you hit it lightly, they squash, and it moves the metal a little bit. It changes position. So the Clecos help hold everything in position. You can Cleco the whole thing together and pull the Cleco out, put a rivet in. Pull the Cleco out, put a rivet in. And back to the clamps again before I forget, they also make, that was the short jaw. They also make a longer jaw with a longer stroke. It's a little bit bigger. And they work pretty well. They're fairly strong. But if you really want to hold something really tight, I mean, there's nothing beats a little C-clamp. That works really good. The one thing else you should know about these are, if you're going to do any soldering, let's say, none of this camp doesn't have it, but some camps have the beading around, and you tin it, the metal, and that's another video, but you hold it with the Clecos. However, you got to be careful that these are made out of like a die-cast white metal, and they'll melt. And if worst case scenario, they'll melt. In a bad case scenario, they will spring on you. They loosen up and they spring. So you got to be careful about that. But they're not expensive. These are about $3 a piece, $2 a piece. Maybe you might think, excuse me, that's expensive. Clecos, you can buy them for 50 cents a piece. And I got a whole bag of them, all different sizes. The one thing you should know about that, when I go to rivet this, one thing you should know is I'll take this out, put a rivet in, whatever side rivet, and I'll take that one out, put a rivet in, rivet it all together. Then I'll drill in the middle, put a rivet in. Then I'll put a rivet in between those. Then in between those. So you just can't think you're going to drill that down and put the rivets in. You can try it, but I guarantee it, even with Clecos, guarantee that when you get down here, you'll have a half a hole. So it shifts. So you got to prevent that. But Clecos are really great. I've found a lot of uses for them other than for holding sheet metal together. In fact, I used it to hold, and it's right over here on the bench, and I think I posted it about it. This is the drill jig that I used for making the tender, and I drilled a hole, laid out a hole, drilled it, put the Cleco in the hole in the jig, clamped this side, drilled a hole, put another Cleco in, just went down and drilled them. Then I moved it down, drilled it, moved it down, drilled it, and it came out perfect. You would never know the difference. The one thing you should know about these, this is ordinary cold rolled steel. That is not the best thing to make them out of. You should really make them out of something like 01, harden it, if you're going to continually use it over and over. The cold rolled steel, eventually the chips actually wear the holes out, and then they'll be off a little bit. They'll start to wobble on you and wiggle and so on, and it doesn't look very nice. But with the tender, I just made it through, and I didn't need to make another jig. I was only going to build one tender, and if I was going to use it for a standard pattern, then I'm probably will make it out something harder and have it for as long as I need it. But worked out pretty good. And Clecos are really neat. You can there's just all different sizes. There's different lengths. Just you can look it up. They'll tell you all about it. And by the way, I don't use. A lot of people use an air gun. I particularly don't like it. The air gun, for one thing, is heavy. You can't get it in here. I mean, how got a big air gun. Can't get it in the corners. Got to have offset things. I have this little hammer here. I made a punch end so I can get real tight inside in the corner. Because when I first started doing it, I had to hold the punch, hold the hammer, and hold the backer upper, which is right here. This is for the 1/16. I have one for 3/32. And this tool and this, I'm not kidding you when I say this, I probably riveted 1 million rivets. Now that sounds like a lot, but I built over 500 cars. I built 25 passenger cars alone that have about 4,000 rivets each one. So, figure that. But a lot of rivets, no problem with this. I just take one at a time, bang it over. Go on the cabin fever on the weekend. Should see some of you fellas out there. Look me up. I know you know my face from the videos. I don't know you, so feel free to come up and introduce yourself to me. Would want to talk to you about all your projects, what you're doing. Glad to meet you. Glad to know about you. And I just think that the live steam hobby is just a great hobby. It's you're very unique. We're all very special people that do this type of work, and we should be proud of it. So we'll see you again on a future video.